My grandfather used to smell like Captain Black pipe tobacco and old cedar. He'd always sit in that creaky wooden rocking chair of his, looking like an ancient philosopher someone had forgotten in the middle of a modern suburb. "Kid," he'd say, blowing a smoke ring into the air, "the world is gonna try to blur your lines every single day. They'll tell you everything is relative. That being flexible is the only way to survive. But mark my words, a person without unshakable principles is just biological noise. If you don't know what you're willing to take a punch for, you're nobody." Back then, I just rolled my eyes. "Gramps," I'd think, "you're stuck in a Western movie." I was convinced I was the smartest guy in the room, that in the age of algorithms, everything depends on the context. I thought being a chameleon was a superpower. I thought that until life pinned me against the wall in the chemistry lab last Tuesday. Moving to California felt like being teleported into a different TV show. One day you're soaking wet in Seattle, and the next, the Palo Alto sun is blinding you by 7 in the morning. My dad had landed a VP role at a tech giant whose name is only 4 letters long and worth billions. My new school, North Branch High, looked more like a colony on Mars, all glass, brushed steel, solar panels, and lawns so perfect they looked painted. "Look, Max," my dad told me on the first day, straightening my collar, "the kids here? Their parents run the world. Make the right friends. That's your real capital for the future." I got the hint. At North Branch, there was a jagged hierarchy. At the top sat Blake. Tall, tanned, with a smile that said, "My dad could buy your house just for a laugh." Blake was the leader of the writers. They wore designer gear like it was their own skin. We bonded on the basketball court. I drained a three-pointer right over his head, and instead of getting pissed, he just grinned. "Not bad, new guy. You've got balls. Come sit with us at lunch." That was the moment of triumph. Sitting with the writers was like getting a VIP pass to life. Pool parties in Malibu, access to test banks, and the kind of attention from cheerleaders that makes you feel invincible. My ticket into this paradise was Tyler, Blake's right-hand man. "The main thing, Max, is loyalty," Tyler whispered to me as we drank craft sodas by Blake's infinity pool. "We take care of our own. But if you're not with us, you're a ghost." I loved it. I felt my status rising with every like on a photo with Blake. My grandfather's talk about principles felt like dusty relics from a century that didn't matter anymore. It all went down on Thursday. Old man Higgins, the chemistry teacher everyone called the test tube, had the audacity to give Blake a C- on a midterm. "This old fossil thinks he actually matters," Blake spat in the locker room after practice. "We need to give him a surprise he won't forget." "Who's in?" We stayed after school. The hallways were nearly empty, just the low hum of the AC. We slipped into the lab. Blake pulled out a key. I didn't ask where he got it. "Check it out, guys," he said, pulling a murky bottle from his bag. "We mixed this with the phosphorus solution in his fume hood. Tomorrow morning, he opens the cabinet, and bam! A cloud of stinking, neon-colored fog fills the whole school. Higgins looks like a total amateur. Tyler was cracking up, filming the whole thing on his phone. I stood by the door, playing lookout. "Blake, maybe we shouldn't?" I said, feeling a weird chill in my gut. "There are smoke detectors everywhere." "Shut it, Max. It'll be epic." Blake started pouring. I saw his hand tremor, just a bit. Maybe he got the ratios wrong. Suddenly, there was a hiss, like 1,000 snakes. The liquid in the beaker turned pitch black and started bubbling violently. "What the?" Blake started. The explosion wasn't loud, but it was powerful. The glass cabinet didn't just break, it shattered outward. A cloud of acrid smoke filled the room, and a second later, a strip of magnesium on the counter caught fire. The flames licked the plastic desks instantly. Then, the sprinklers kicked in. An icy deluge of water crashed down on us, mixing with the smoke and the jagged glass. We stumbled into the hallway, coughing and rubbing our eyes. And that's when we ran right into them. Leo and 2 of his friends from the robotics club. They were coming out of their workshop, carrying a drone. They just froze, staring at us, soaking wet, covered in soot, with the lab roaring in flames behind us. What did you do?" Leo whispered. Blake wiped his face and transformed instantly. His eyes went sharp, cold. "Listen here, you freaks," he said, stepping toward Leo. "You were in the lab. You were trying to steal equipment. There was a short circuit, and you blew the place up. We just heard the noise and ran in to help." "That's a lie," Leo shouted. "We were just passing through. Who are they gonna believe, Leo?" Blake flashed that royal smile, even with a smudge of soot on his cheek. "Me? The son of Blake Sr.? Or you, the scholarship kid from the bad side of town who already has a disciplinary warning for that cafeteria fight?" Tyler stepped up behind Blake. "Max will back us up. Right, Max? We were just saving the school from some lowlife vandals?" I looked at Leo. His eyes were wide with pure terror. He knew. If Blake's version stuck, he wasn't just expelled. He was looking at juvenile hall. His parents couldn't afford a lawyer. His entire future had just gone up in smoke in that lab. The next 48 hours were hell. Blake's dad had already flooded the school with private investigators and high-priced attorneys. They were moving faster than the police. Blake called me to his garage on Friday night. He was leaning against his Porsche. "Look, Max," he said, tossing me a soda. "You're in a shaky spot. You're the new guy. But if you say what needs to be said, you're officially untouchable. My old man will set you up with a Google internship this summer. Imagine, 16 years old with a dream resume." "And what about Leo?" I asked quietly. "Leo? He's a side effect, bro. The world needs janitors. One more, one less, who cares? What matters is us. The circle." I went home and sat in our garage. My grandfather's old tools were still in the corner. I picked up his hammer, heavy, worn, honest. If you don't know what you're willing to take a punch for, you're nobody. I realized that if I told the truth, I'd lose everything. Blake would make sure every day at school was a living nightmare. My face would be on every wall with snitch written across it. My dad would have problems at work because of the fallout with Blake's father. My perfect California dream would pop like a soap bubble. But if I lied, I'd sit at those parties, drinking expensive drinks, knowing that somewhere out there, Leo was pumping gas because I was too weak to speak up. I'd be that jelly my grandfather talked about. It's Monday morning. Principal Stevens' office smells like furniture polish and anxiety. There are too many people here, police officers, a grim-faced lawyer for Blake's family, my dad, who was white-knuckling his knees, and Blake himself. Blake looks perfect, in a crisp white button-down. Leo and his friends aren't here. They've already been temporarily suspended. The police officer clicks on a digital recorder. Photos of the charred lab are spread across the desk. "So, Max," the principal says, looking at me over his glasses. "You were there. Did you see Leo and the others enter the lab with flammable materials? Blake says you tried to talk them out of it. Is that correct?" My throat is bone dry. Blake gives me a barely visible nod. My dad looks at me with a desperate hope that I won't make a scene. This entire massive machine, money, power, reputation, is waiting for just one word from me. Yes. And I'm free. I'm a leader. I'm one of them. I look at the officer. Then at Blake. And I'm asking you. Every single one of you listening to my story right now. You know how it is. Everyone has a Blake and a Leo in their lives eventually. Everyone eventually stands before a door where who you really are is decided. It's easy to have principles in a movie. It's easy to be a hero in theory. But what if the price of your truth is your own future? What if you don't get a medal for the truth? What if all you get is loneliness and a mountain of trouble? I take a deep breath. The room goes dead silent. I can hear the clock on the wall ticking. So, what would you choose? Would you become part of the system that protects you, Or would you stay the person that the system is about to crush? I opened my mouth.